I am swinging from a 7-story window, throwing parties in a 10-by-7 cell. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Yeah, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'll try to use your body as a life raft, 'cause if there's room enough for one, there must be room enough for two. I'll sail the good ship you into the sunset, sipping on savory water till the liver turns blue. Sha-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Is broadcast in the evening news. I will be relieved. La, la, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'm waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. La, 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 la. Singing, hey, hey, alright, yeah, I wrote that one myself. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Fuck.
All right, put down your pens, put down your pencils, step away from the keyboards, and settle in for this week's episode of Writer's Block. First and foremost, let me thank Low Tide Kava Bar for the kava that I drink on this and every episode. I would have some for you, but you said you didn't want any.
Yeah, I don't want to be rude about the kava.
You're not.
I support your kava intake.
And I appreciate it, and I understand. It tastes awful.
It's different strokes for different folks.
It is. Also, let me thank Muddied Waters Media for allowing me to do this show, which I know that's really funny since I own Muddied Waters Media. And thank you to Don and Sally Wright for giving birth to me, which is truly just a gift to the rest of you. Today I have on Mr. Alex Snitker, which I'm very excited to have him on. You were on an episode of the Muddied Waters of Freedom.
This was a while ago.
That was a while ago. I think that was like episode 21, and we're on episode 75 or something.
G-Man Eddie.
Yeah. So... it's been a while since we've been able to get you back on.
Yeah, you know what, man? Sometimes, you know what? I'll tell you what it is. Because me and you talk all the time.
We do.
But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, well, how are we gonna make it work? How are we gonna make it fit? And then I'm trying to get my studio back up, and I almost want to wait for that. But then at the same time, it's just easier to come down here and hang out and have a good time. So, and I happen to be in the neighborhood for other reasons.
Right. Which. Always glad to have you come by. Always glad to have you in studio because we have the funniest conversations, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, they're kind of funny.
So, yeah, definitely glad that you were able to fit this into your schedule this week. So, for anybody out there who doesn't know who you are, we'll give them a little bit of a background on you. Like, I know you and I met while we were in the Libertarian Party.
Yeah. All right, so in 2010, I ran for the U.S. Senate as a Libertarian. And between the years of 2010 and 2016, I was in the politically active as an activist in the Libertarian Party. And in 2016, I had left the Libertarian Party and had joined the Republican Liberty Caucus, which is a group of libertarians inside the GOP. And at this point, I am the executive director of the National Republican Liberty Caucus, which is a paid position. And I am, actively helping them build chapters and to promote libertarianism within the GOP.
Well, that's
in a nutshell.
That's so funny because when we were when we were both in the Libertarian Party, everybody always said, don't you think it would be better to try to change the GOP from within?
I'd have punched somebody that said that to me. I'd have punched him.
Would have punched him. So I was always like, no, I think it's better to give somebody a third option. To give them more options so that way they can see all of the options available and make a more qualified decision. And now you're actually working on that side.
Yeah, no. You know what? I guess before we get into the other stuff, let's hash that part of it out.
That's fair. And in full disclosure, I have helped you out on stuff with the RLC, so technically I'm doing the exact same thing.
I mean, you are a member, but
right.
You don't have to be a registered Republican to be a member, by the way.
Right, which I'm not a registered Republican, so
but you are a member, but, at any rate. Look, here's the thing. 2016, as a political year, I don't want to say it was a bad year because, to make it sound like what I'm about to say is going to make it sound like it was a bad year. And in my opinion, I don't think it was necessarily a bad year, but there's a lot of things in me personally that died in 2016. I don't want to say I found out that there was no Santa Claus because that sounds like the weird way of saying it.
Right.
But what I did find out is that I belonged to a party that wasn't serious about actually advancing the principles in which they exposed.
Yes.
And that any of the advancements that I was witnessing that were being made were actually had far more to do with me and far less to do with it was in spite of the efforts of others within the organization. And I was just sick and tired of getting attacked all the time. You do all this work and then it's like you do all the work and then they yell at you for doing the work, and then when you're like, well, I'm going to do more work, and then it's almost like they just keep yelling at you. They get people within the party get madder and madder and madder and madder. And I think that at the end of the day, what they really hated was any type of success or any moniker of success or any moniker of actually moving things forward, in my opinion. And sometimes you have to, the real failure is the failure to recognize. And so, after Johnson's campaign and after, what I witnessed at the national convention and I was so sick and tired of all of it. And then, the RLC has always been an organization that's kind of, in the activism that I was doing, especially in Tallahassee with legislation, they were always there. They were always there. And when I would yell at them and tell them that, hey, you're going to be coming over to the LP one day, and they would just smile and laugh and, it would be funny, but at the same time, they were always up there and they were always advancing liberty forward in the state legislature. And meanwhile, if I got on a call that was full of libertarians and talked about what we were doing in Tallahassee, I would get no kidding around. There was a person, and I'll leave his name, I'll leave him anonymous, Mike Kane, that literally on the call, he said, well, you should just tell them that we want to be free. And that was it. When I would explain, we're going down this bill and this bill and this bill and this bill, the response wasn't even anything about the bills that were going on. It was like, well, you should just tell them that we want to be free. Because that's what a kindergartner says.
Right. And that's not a real argument for anything.
Yeah, it's not.
Yes, we all want to be free, and I get that. The reason that we do this show is because we all want to be free, but that's an argument that's going to get you laughed out of any room that you're in.
Yeah, it's like going up to Cornwall communists. What are you going to accomplish?
Nothing
at all.
Absolutely nothing.
I mean, we have a severe deficiency in what people even understand as to what liberty and freedom means and how it applies to our current mess that we're in as a society, because we're in a huge mess as a society. At least when it comes to our politics. But I had enough, and so I was like, you know what? It was either join the RLC or get out of politics altogether. It was really there was two roads. It was either get out of politics, and I did swear off as soon as 2016 ended. The one thing I was going to not do anymore was get involved in candidates and campaigns. Right. I was just going to deal on the policy side because that's where I found. That's where I found the most enjoyment at. Found the most impact was in the policy side. Then Bob's campaign.
And then you started running a campaign.
Somebody asked me, though. I didn't go solicit this.
Right. No, I get it. I get it.
But then they hired me on as the RLC for the executive director, which means I totally changed what my plans were and went down that road. And I'm glad I did. I'm not upset about it. I'm very happy I did. I'm very happy was very happy to be involved in Bob's campaign, and I'm happy to see the good things about the RLC and the things that need to be improved within the RLC. I see that, but I also, the other thing that I noticed within the RLC that I never really felt like I noticed in the LP was an actual path to victory.
Right.
Like, if you look at the past elections as they went down in the primaries in 2016, the RLC had endorsed like 21 candidates for office. 17 of those 21 candidates actually won. Like, and if you look around in the GOP, I think that there's 100 elected officials in Florida. If you take every level of government, by the way. So you got to take state, local, like there's 18,000 elected positions.
Right.
And I think that there's 100 Republicans that are really libertarians. Like, not tip of the spear, taxation is theft libertarians, but they're in the quadrant.
Right. They're in that lower right quadrant.
Yeah, they're in the quadrant. They're not all the way there, but they're in the quadrant. And you know what the problem, not the problem, but the goal of the RLC is how do we bring those people together along with the voters in the Republican Party voters that are along the same lines. And look, because if you look at how these guys get elected, the Republicans get elected talking like libertarians. Mm-hmm. Not all of them. Some of them don't. And when it comes to immigration, of course, there's a lot of separation there. When it comes to the drug war, there's still some separation there, especially within the elected officials up top, is that they're, it's still one of those things where if you talk to a lot of them privately, they'll tell you they're for legalization, but they never really take a stand on it.
Right, publicly. But they can't say that publicly.
Yeah, so it's still one of those things where it's almost like the other woman kind of thing. And the immigration thing, we do have a definite difference of opinion with mainline Republicans as far as immigration goes. There is no doubt that is absolutely an issue that needs to be discussed and talked about. But at the same time, if you go back even to Reagan, Reagan was definitely more along the lines of libertarian thought when it comes to immigration than what you are currently seeing out of
100%.
Yeah.
If you look at the debate between, I think it was the 1980 primary debate.
Him and Bush.
Yeah, it was him, Bush. Wasn't there? I think there was somebody else there.
The video that I saw only showed those two on the stage.
Okay. But what they were saying was very libertarian in their ideologies on immigration, and you just go forward even to 2000, just 20 years later, it is 100% different. They switch so fast.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Well, because they never really fixed the problem.
Right.
Let me equate the immigration thing, though, to... again, it was a story that I heard, is that at one point, long time ago, is that the English people that were around the world were considered pirates. Like it was lawlessness and piracy and all this other kind of stuff. Is that the people in England, that were all these people out there, the sea people were out there all talking about how, or they were mad at these people because they were always breaking all the rules and breaking all the laws, and they considered them all pirates, basically. However, once they actually changed their own rules and got rid of some victimless crime stuff, the stuff that shouldn't have been illegal to begin with. I'm not talking about infringing on the rights of another or killing people or slavery or anything else like that. As soon as they changed the rules, then the outlook of those people also changed as well, and they looked like they were much more honorable people than they were pirates.
Right.
And the reason is because the term illegal has such a visceral connotation with so much of the public, because if it's illegal, it should be illegal. It's got to be illegal for a reason. So there's got to be a reason why these people are doing something illegal. They must be bad people in order to do that. But it's only because the law says it's illegal. How does that equate to immigration? Well, right now, it's just so damn hard to get into this country legally, and it's so easy to get into this country illegally. Because if you ask a lot, and because look, the term racist always gets put on the Republicans. And while, look, I think every political organization has some people in it that are racist. I don't care what party that goes along with. Because in society there's racist people.
Right.
It's bipartisan.
It's 100% bipartisan. But with the immigration thing, I've got a friend from England. He's an English guy, and he has been living here for 15 years, and he's been living here for 15. I'm gonna try to make sure I get this story right. I've heard it so many times. It's kind of melded together. Like, but
Was Kavanaugh there?
no, he that's funny. But he's been living here for 15 years. He got married after he had been living here for like 5 or 6 years. He already had his visa or whatever, his permanent residency or something like that. And then he got married, and then he and his wife split, and she hasn't granted him the divorce yet, even though it's been like 3 or 4 years. And he can't apply for permanent residency again until the divorce has been granted. But so now he's gotten the notice that because they aren't technically together, and he hasn't reapplied for permanent residency, he has to go.
Oh, damn.
And he's been living here for 15 years, and he's, I think he's like 32. So he's been here since he was like 14. Yeah. So he's like, if you send me back, I don't have anything there. I know nobody there.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Right. He's like, I don't know how anything works over there. Like, all I have from England is my accent.
Yeah.
Right. And
he still does have the accent, though. Well, at least he has that.
He does. He still has that. It works wonders for him.
It totally works wonders for him.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, there's a GoFundMe out there because he can't afford the legal fees that are necessary for him to get everything done. So there's a GoFundMe that he's doing to try to get enough money to do it. And it's just been like, I've seen the stress on him. Like, there's no reason he needs to leave.
Yeah.
He has been here working consistently, maybe not for 15 years since I don't know exactly how old he is, but at least for 13 of them.
Yeah.
And he's been a contributing member of American society for 13 years. There's zero reason.
Paying taxes.
Doing everything.
I mean, taxation's still theft, but he's still paying a tax.
Right. And he can't vote. So, I mean, he doesn't even have a choice on who gets in there.
Yeah. I just, like I said, I think that what we really need to do is to just streamline the laws, really go back to an Ellis Island approach, and let people come here. And let them come here, and let just make it easier for people to come here. And I think if you do that, then what happens is that those people that are upset because people are here illegally aren't going to be mad at those people because in their minds, well, they went through the proper channels, they did the proper things. I'm not against that.
Right.
It's that the second you put that term illegal on it, it puts that connotation there. And I think that we have to change that, and it's a lot easier said than done. Look, we can sit here on a radio show and talk about how we can change it, but I mean, there's a lot that needs to be done there.
That's why I prefer doing the radio show because I don't actually have to back it up.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But at any rate, though, that was the about the RLC thing is that I do think that you have the ability within the Republican Party to actually move this party much more towards in line with liberty and freedom. And if you look at the last election that just happened, the last primaries that just happened, they talked about how this was historical turnout for primaries. Do you happen to know what the actual percentage was of the Republicans that voted in the primaries? If you want to take a guess.
If I had to take a guess?
If you took a guess, guess what the number you think was as the registered Republicans, what percentage of them actually voted in the primary?
If I had to take a guess, 38%.
Damn, you're good. 35.
35.
I mean, it's close.
I would vary. I was going to say 35, but I was like, that's way too on the nose of a number. So
yeah, it was like, I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't exactly 35%, but it was about 35%.
Yeah.
So so if you take 10 registered Republicans, 3.5 of them voted. That means that 6.5 of them didn't even vote.
Right.
Like, they didn't even vote. I would argue that the RLC's base is a mixture between those people that did vote and those people that didn't vote. But just to give an idea of how, where's the bar at for success, basically. If you take the bar in the Republican Party for what's success within a primary, it means you would have to get, if you got 20% of the registered Republicans to vote for your candidate in a primary election, you win.
Yes.
That's 2 out of 10 of the registered Republicans. Technically, it's 1 out of 10 of all the voters entirely, but 2 out of 10 of the registered Republicans, you'd have won every primary in the state, and it wouldn't even have been, it'd have been like, oh, they blew him out. It was amazing what happened. They blew him out. That's what victory is.
100%. And with the liberty movement inside the Republican Party, you've got Eric Brakey up in Maine.
Yeah.
Kevin, I forgot Kevin's last name. I've got a man crush on that guy, and I forgot his last name. From Virginia. He lost his primary.
Oh. I totally have a man crush on that guy, too.
I think every guy has a man crush on that guy.
Nick Freitas.
Nick Freitas. I don't know why I was saying Kevin.
Now, he didn't win that primary, but he did really, really good, though. He's a really good speaker, by the way.
He is one of the best speakers I've ever seen.
He's very well articulated, by the way. And I'm saying that about a white person, just for the record.
Yeah.
I'm saying that about a cracker, man. He speaks the message very, very well.
He is so good.
Matt Gertler in Georgia.
Gertler? I like Matt a lot.
Yeah, Matt Caldwell's actually a member of the RLC. That's for ag commissioner.
Yes,
and he's a member of the RLC.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of them.
Yeah, Matt. I met Matt with you
in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. And he was a really nice guy.
Oh yeah, no, Matt's good people. I've known him for years.
I was personally upset to see that Matt and I lost his primary.
Yeah, that sucked.
That did suck. But I mean,
kudos to YL for what they could do, man. But after finding out with Matt Nye's campaign, because there was a lot of things we just talked about. There is this group or organization called YL, Young Americans for Liberty, and they're doing this this door-to-door, win at the door campaign.
Win at the door.
They're winning, like they've won 21 races so far this year. And but what they do is they take 10 college kids, 10 college adults, whatever you want to call them, but they take 10 college adults and they have them go and knock on doors for an entire month before the election. Now, I will say this, when it came to Matt's race, there was a combination of things that ended up costing him. One of them was that I think by the way that they're, like I think with other states, every state's different. Like every state's different as when you need to go out and knock on doors and when it's the most effective. And I think YAL was about 2 weeks behind the window.
Right.
Because absentees started dropping in the middle of their walk-in. They would have needed to be finished with the first round of walking after the 2 weeks after the absentees dropped. So I think that had a little bit to do with it. Also, in Florida, there's a lot of gated communities where you can't get into, you can't knock those doors. So I think that the combination of those two things, ended up costing Matt on that one. But it wasn't lack of effort. I mean, and YL is doing a great job. I think they're going to get involved in a lot more races here in Florida. There was a couple of the races that were kind of like the one up in District 1 with Rebecca Bidlack against Mike Hill. Right? Bidlack was a good Liberty candidate, but she lost by like 500 votes. But that has a lot to do with the fact that Mike Hill was just about the dirtiest player. I mean, he was basically lying and being very sexist. I mean, I hate to say that, but he's being very sexist and being very bigoted in what in the way he was doing it, because he was just like, whatever it takes to win is what he's going to do. And that's what he did. I mean, look, and the RLC as an organization actually endorsed Mike Hill the prior election cycle. Like the last time he ran for something, the RLC actually endorsed him because he's good on the issues. But when you run that dishonorable of a campaign, like I don't care what happens after this. Like we have to find somebody to replace that guy, because you just can't like to publicly call out a mosh for things that he had nothing to do with and to lie about him and then to say, well, he's just a Pakistani or he's a Palestinian or whatever.
Right.
It's like,
I mean, when you have Karl Rove, who said that Justin Amash was the most dangerous Republican in Congress, and it's because of his liberty-sided mind on everything.
He's the new Dr. No.
Yeah, he's the new Dr. No. And so you got Karl Rove saying that, and Kane was just doing the exact same thing. Like he was just, he's just a Pakistani who hates America, kind of a, like, if I remember that statement correctly, because I was like, this, in my mind, that should have just sealed it for Rebecca. Yeah,
but you know what, though? I don't think that happened after the election was over with.
Did it?
Yeah. That thing happened afterwards. The stuff he was doing before was basically like, she doesn't have any kids, so if she, and basically was saying something bad about her for not having kids, saying that she's like Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi. It's like, look, Bidlack was so far removed from any of that stuff.
Yeah.
To say that she had any kind of, she's bad on guns when she was A-rated by the NRA.
Right.
Like, just blatant lies and just stupidity blatant lies, and it was...
And that's kind of the same thing that happened with Freitas, is like there were a lot of lies going around about Freitas, even though Freitas was by far the better candidate than Corey Stewart.
Oh yeah, Corey Stewart's horrible.
Corey Stewart is awful.
Yeah.
And like my parents are from Virginia, and after that election happened, because it was razor thin.
Oh yeah,
it was super close. I don't think it was 500 votes close, but it was a statewide. So I think it was like
percentage wise, it was probably around the same kind of percentage as the 500 up there, though.
Exactly. And I didn't call my dad for weeks afterwards because I knew I was going to ask the question,
but you didn't even want to.
I didn't want to. I did not want to.
I do that sometimes.
Yeah,
I do that sometimes.
Like, and he was like, "Oh, I haven't talked to you in a while." I was like, "Yeah, look, I just gotta get it out of the way. Who'd you vote for?" And he was like, "The Trump guy." I was like, "God." He's like, "I'm certain he's a nice guy." I was like, "He's a super nice guy, Dad."
Like, if you'd listen to the two, it would make the choice so clear,
so easy.
Well, and look, and this is the other. Here's the other thing that should be discussed as well when you talk about whether if you want to advance liberty through the GOP, if you want to do it in the LP, if you want to do it through either one. When I say that I would rather do it to the GOP than the LP, it doesn't say that there's not people within the GOP that want to that there's people there that don't want us to succeed, that are actively going to campaign against us. It's not all of them; it's a portion of them,
right?
And the thing is this: a lot of times when you hear the arguments made, the argument will be made that, well, the GOP hates libertarians. They hate them. It's not really true. There is definitely a percentage of the people in there that do hate them.
There are some.
But you know what, though? They don't represent the majority. They just don't. I mean, that's the thing. They don't look, go back to the 35% thing. The base that's picking these candidates is 35%. Are you going to tell me that out of the 100% of the people that are Republicans, that you're not going to find a 20% block that are libertarians? And if they were all actually voting, that those guys, their candidates would win elections? And again, it's our job, or my job, I guess, as the executive director for the RLC, to put that coalition together and get them to start voting for liberty-minded Republicans.
Exactly. And I mean, like Cliff Maloney says that, they've endorsed libertarians, they've endorsed Republicans, and they would endorse a Democrat if one of them would meet their standards.
Yeah, right. YL is definitely a principle above party organization. Yep. And truth be told, the RLC is a partisan organization. There's no getting around that. They are a partisan Republican organization.
I think that would make them lose their 501c3.
Well, they're 527, but yeah.
Oh, they're 527.
Well, no, they would lose. Here's the thing: is that they chartered themselves to work within the Republican Party. But here's the thing, though: the Libertarian Party is a partisan organization. YL nonpartisan works out well. Best candidate wins. It's why in a weird way. It's why I really do support Young Americans for Liberty. Like, I think it's a phenomenal organization.
It really is.
And they do good work, and they don't care. They don't care what party somebody is. They look at viability, and they look at, can you win the race? But this is where a lot of libertarians get mad at YAL, is because, if you just say, hey, I'm going to run for office, and you're not going to put in the work, well, they're not going to support you.
Right.
They're not supporting you because you're a libertarian. They're not supporting you because you're dumb. Because you're not putting into work because you're lazy.
Yeah.
You bore me.
If you're not willing to go out and knock doors, they're probably not going to work for you.
Yeah. And if you're not going to raise money.
Right.
Because they don't have campaign yard sign trees and campaign material trees that just grow where you could just, pick the materials off of there and go with it. You got to raise money, and you have to raise significant money.
Good amount of money, yeah.
But it's not impossible to do either. It's really not. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's the lack of funding for the liberty movement is definitely a problem. It's getting better. It's
getting a lot better,
but it's still got a long ways to go.
Right.
But it's getting better though. So I gotta. And we look. Some of it's our own fault though. Like some of these, too many people don't know how to raise money, and myself included. I mean, if I can commit to it, and I just sit there and can commit to doing the fundraising activity, I can do very, very well. If I don't, but I have a lot of other things that I have to do as well. So you got to keep a lot of these different things running. What I would love to see is people that get involved in the liberty movement and yet only are going to deal with of raising the money for it. Like that would be, if there's one thing I wish we could get more people to do, it would be to just harness that ability to raise money for all the different things going on. And it's hard to do, and it's really it's a little dehumanizing, and it's a little, people don't want to just sit there on the phone and ask for money all day long, but in all reality, it's that's needed.
Yeah,
and if you had that, then you wouldn't have to worry about a lot of the rest.
Right, and that's the basic thing is, while getting on the phone and just asking, hey, do you have money? That's what's needed, but it's also one of the hardest things to do.
Oh, yeah.
Which,
especially if you stay committed on it.
Yeah, and it takes a person with a certain lack of shame to be able to be good at it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, too, because and even the stigma on it is so ingrained in society, even though it shouldn't be, because in all reality, look, if you're going to ask somebody to spend money on something, their own personal liberty and freedom and to live in a more free society, what else would be a better investment of your money than that? But the people that have a lot of money, though, they want to make sure that, and this is where you run into the problem of, look, the system that has been created, that this country is governed by now, is predicated on there's so much money going into the government that there's a lot of people that make all their bank off of this. And that means that they rule the system. So you can't just, the people we're fighting against have provided for their families with this system. And as corrupt and as evil as we all would, or many of us would agree that it is, it doesn't change the fact that we're going to be putting a lot of people and taking a lot of their money away. Yeah. Well, you think they're not going to fight for that? You think they're not going to get mad at what we're trying to do, call us names, say we're crazy, do all this other stuff that they do? It's predictable.
I thought it was funny because this past week, with everything that's been going on in the news, which we'll get to eventually, I saw two memes from two people that I'm friends with on Facebook, both of them from either side of the aisle. From the guy that was a Republican, he was like, Dianne Feinstein makes $175,000 a year, or whatever it is. She has $71 million in the bank. And I'm making these numbers up at this point.
But they're probably pretty close.
Yeah. And how is that possible? We need to reelect. We need to get new people in there. And then the person from the left had a picture of Paul Ryan. He was like, Paul Ryan makes $175,000 a year. He's got $92 million in the bank, or whatever it is. And, how is this possible? I was just like, I agree with both of these. 100%. Paul Ryan's a really bad example since he's not running for re-election. You should probably pick somebody who's going to be there next year. But still, I get it. I get what you're saying. But you would not share the Dianne Feinstein one. Why are you sharing the Paul Ryan one?
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is this, is that the way that both of these people, at the end of the day, got their money is because they had insider access.
Yep.
They had the ability to maneuver and make decisions, and they were able to profit off of the decisions that they were made. If you didn't have a big, huge government that was writing all these different contracts to all these different organizations, neither one of them would have gotten that far.
Nope.
Which is why both Paul Ryan and Dianne Feinstein will stand on the graves of children and ex-military and veterans and all this other stuff, and of poor people and old people and colored people and all this stuff. They will stand on every one of those graves to keep their gravy train running. Because 100%. At the end of the day, they don't care. They care about the color green, and that's it.
Right.
Which is why we should have a limited government. But that's, not to take it all the way back to that, but it's also why, the people aren't just knocking over the doors to give us money to go out and do stuff, because we're trying to take stuff away.
Right. Exactly. But speaking of Feinstein.
Speaking of the finers.
Speaking of Feinstein. Good old Dianne Feinstein. Wow. She is the reason that Kavanaugh... she's not the reason, Kavanaugh. I'm not going to say that. She is the catalyst on why Kavanaugh is now being delayed on his hearing.
Yes.
Because
yes. Purposely.
Yes, 100% purposely. Because she got this letter back in June, I believe. Back in June, and she didn't release it until a week before he was going to be confirmed. Which 100%, that was a tactic.
This Brett Kavanaugh thing with Dianne Feinstein was totally done for political purposes. Now, I will say this: no one knows exactly what happened because nobody was there.
Nobody was there.
Other than, there's three people that claim that the woman is claiming to have been there: herself, Kavanaugh, and this other guy, Judge.
Mark Judge, yeah.
Now, Judge...
I called him Mike Judge.
Was it Mike Judge?
It's Mark.
Mark Judge?
I called him Mike Judge on our last show.
And
then afterwards, I had to put it in the comments on YouTube. I was like, edit. His name's Mark, not Mike. He's not the creator of King of the Hill. Don't quote me on that.
How cool would that have been, though?
I know, right? That would have been awesome. But
you see a King of the Hill episode with this, though.
Right.
Great.
But so Yeah, 3 people were there. Mark Judge is saying that it never happened. Kavanaugh is saying it never happened. And Professor Ford is saying it did happen. Of course that Kavanaugh is going to say it didn't happen. 100%.
Yeah.
Mark Judge, he and Kavanaugh have been friends since probably before that incident allegedly took place. He's probably not going to say it ever happened.
Yeah.
So you're never going to know.
No, you're never going to know. But that also means that in order to determine whether it should be something credible or not credible, you have to look at everything else that goes along with it. Now, the delay in the tactics that Feinstein used and that the Congresswoman used, you can't blame Ford per se for that. But you can partly blame her for that.
I don't blame Ford for that. Like the June to September.
You can kind of blame her for that, though. Here's the thing.
Okay.
Then be public and go into the media right off the bat. Like, she halved it. She's like, I have a concern with this guy, but I don't want you to use my name. You should have just, either you're going to come out all the way, which is what ended up happening anyway, or just don't say anything.
Right.
So I think that the fact that she put out it anonymously, or not anonymously, but she didn't want her name to be used, and yet she still brought it up. I do think that's partly her fault as to why the optics look bad on this.
And the way that I see it is he worked in the Bush administration. Mm-hmm. He's been a federal judge for 12 years or something like that. And according to her husband, he said that she was concerned that the person that did this to her would one day become a Supreme Court justice. Back in 2012.
That's a lot of foresight, by the way.
I mean, great foresight. Good for her.
Can you pick me some lotto numbers?
Right? And if that was something that you were concerned about, if that was something that you thought back in 2012, why wasn't it something you brought up in 2012 when he was going through the federal process then?
He was an appeals judge before. He was already a judge. It's not like this guy went from no job to being being the Supreme Court justice. He was a judge that went through an FBI investigation multiple times. And
if you're looking for a guy to go from no job to Supreme Court justice, I'm free. I got nothing.
You gonna do it? Think about doing it?
I'd do it. I'm gonna tell you, there's some stuff in the past, but I'll openly admit to all of it.
Yeah. No, it's just, and then now I will say this is that, look, I definitely think you have to feel for anybody that puts out a claim like this, but you also have to come with the facts, though. And it just seems like the facts in this case are real sketchy.
They're real thin.
Like, they're like, someday during some year at some place, this incident happened. Well, look, how can Kavanaugh, and look, the thing is this is, I know we talked about this being later thought of the episode. Like, I don't even really like Kavanaugh. Like, I don't like him on the Fourth Amendment stuff. Yeah. I don't really like him on those stuff. But at the same time, I think that, hey, look, Trump's allowed to pick who he wants to pick. This is what happened. This is the unfortunate part of, if you win the election, elections have consequences. This is one of them. I don't think that the left should be this mad about Kavanaugh, considering that I think he's actually kind of a blasé establishment guy. He's not, he's not overturning Roe v. Wade. And for them to make this all about Roe v. Wade is so stupid.
Which is so much what, they're like, oh, he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. And then they're Occupy Democrats is misquoting him in some of their memes, which I know that comes as a shock to anybody listening, that Occupy Democrats would misquote somebody. But they were talking about how he said that birth control was forced abortions or medical, something like that. Yeah. I can't remember what he said, what they said he said. But what they were talking, he was referencing a case with the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And he was referencing what they were saying, and then Occupy Democrats pulled those and were like, well, he said these out loud, so that's what he obviously believes. And I'm like, stop spreading the lies spreading the lies. Just go with, if you want to hit Kavanaugh, hit him on the Fourth Amendment. Hit him on the spying, hit him on the listening, hit him on the surveillance, because you can't deny those.
Yeah, I mean, you can have an argument about those things, but I mean, yeah. And this is the problem with Trump, though. This is the problem with the media and their reporting of Trump, is that they will not. They have to set themselves to a higher standard, even if the president doesn't. They have to set their integrity up at a higher standard and just report the facts.
Right.
Which is why you'll see people. Look, I didn't vote for Trump. I did not vote for. I voted for Gary Johnson.
So did I.
Even if it was me holding my nose voting for Gary Johnson, I still voted for Gary Johnson. But you have to be honest and upfront about Trump.
You voted for the worst of four evils.
Yeah, I felt like that at that. By the end,
best of four evils.
Not even. I still didn't even disagree with him on some policy stuff. I think where I was really mad with Gary, I had way more to do with, and not to go on this tangent, it had way more to do with that they just didn't run a good campaign.
They didn't.
They ran a horrible campaign.
That campaign was so bad.
And I know there's people that made a lot of money off of Johnson's campaign, and it irks me to this day to know that I know some of the people who were horrible that made money. Don't get me wrong. Look, I'm all for somebody making money. But, man, to screw the pooch that bad and get paid for it, oh, my God.
Yeah, that was one of the worst campaigns I've ever seen for president by far.
Yeah, he should have stayed on the weed.
Yeah.
God, I think the one big thing we could go back with and say, like, he should have kept smoking.
Yeah.
Because then it probably would have been, he wouldn't have stuck his tongue out on national TV, for Pete's sake. What are you doing?
They're making me bite my tongue.
Yeah. But back to the Kavanaugh thing. So, look, I at this point, though, and this is what happens. At this point, I hope... Look, give that woman... I think now she is going to testify, even though that's not for sure.
Yeah, so...
But vote on this thing and go get it over with.
Did you hear the demands that they had?
Yeah.
She had to testify after Kavanaugh?
That doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. I have been involved in my fair share of trials. It never works that way.
Never. It never.
No.
And I don't...
And that was the part that I was like, okay, yeah, she wanted to push it back. I understood the political move behind that.
Yeah, but that is a political move, though.
100%.
She had all time in the world.
Yeah, 100%. Her not wanting to, the reason that she couldn't get there before Thursday or whatever is because she doesn't like to be in confined spaces, which I think possibly is just them trying to push this whole narrative of the confined thing, and that she has to drive, which I think a car is a more confined space than a plane personally, but that's just me. So she has to drive from California to DC. So that's why she couldn't make it before Thursday or whatever. I
like to check her pass to see about any plane rides before this, though.
Yeah, exactly. Which there's got to be one.
Of course.
Got to be one. So
she can't be in the room with him. She doesn't want their attorneys to question him or to question her.
Yeah, and it couldn't be any of the male senators questioning her.
Yeah, it's just so much. Like, again, this is where they take people's good nature and you give them an inch and they take 5 miles.
Yep.
And then the second you complain about any of that stuff, all of a sudden you hate women. And it's like, how about we want to treat people equally? If this was a dude, if Brett Kavanaugh was Bridget Kavanaugh, and this doctor was a dude who was claiming that this woman jumped on him and did this, so many years ago.
Right.
And he wanted his day to testify, but she had to go first and this, and they were to cave on that stuff, then all those people would be pro-man and they would hate women.
Yep.
Because it's not about equality. It's about I get special treatment because I'm part of this group of people that has been wronged over the years. It's not ever about equality anymore. I think this is another thing that really pisses me off. When it comes to equality, I agree with them. I think we should treat everyone equally.
Yes, we need to treat everyone equally. The problem is we don't treat everyone. It has become so partisan that the left and the right both are guilty of this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
but like Bill Clinton has numerous accusers on him that the right just openly is like, yes, that Bill Clinton's an awful guy, which I agree with. I think he's an awful guy, and the left is. No, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. He's Bill. That's fine. He's Bill being Bill. Brett, oh no, this happened 36 years ago. Obviously this is true. He should not hold this seat. And oh God, what's that guy's name?
You talking about Roy Moore?
Not Roy Moore, but that's a good one too. The Democrat, he's in office. Keith Ellison.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Keith Ellison. So you have Keith Ellison, who allegedly beat the ever-living crap out of his girlfriend, who is the vice chair of the DNC, I believe.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
It's a bad situation.
Yeah, it's a bad situation. And now the Democrats are going after her, saying that she needs to be quiet. She needs to stop. She needs to... Where where is this equality that you're looking for? Like, you're willing to listen to this accusation from 36 years ago and say, oh, no, this has to be true. But to this woman, she's not a girl, to this woman who is the vice chair or whatever she is of the DNC on your own party, saying that somebody in the party, there are police reports backing it up. And you're like, no, let's not even look into it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. That's not equality. And the Republicans with Roy Moore, like, yeah, I think Roy Moore probably is a pedophile.
Oh, he did that. Here's the thing. There was way too many accusations. There was way too much corroborating evidence. There was way too much there was no defense for Roy Moore, really, at the end of the day. But the problem is, and this is where the problem comes into play. If you have one side that will not be honorable when it comes to these accusations and will treat it as a double standard, where if it's our guy, we're going to protect it, but if it's their guy, we're going to not protect it. We're going to expose it and stuff. Then it's almost natural that you will see the other side do the same thing, because in their minds, they're thinking that this side is trying to take advantage. Because the Republicans are supposed to have morals, right? Well, if they're supposed to have morals, then this person here is, not a moral person. So why are you supporting them? Look, Roy Moore should have been replaced. They should have convinced that guy to get out. Now by that point that all this stuff came out, it was a little bit too late. But at the same time, it didn't matter. Like, this is a bad guy. Like, all this stuff came out, and to defend it is horrible. Now, the difference is with Kavanaugh and him, this is one instant that someone's making an allegation that really has no backup for this, and there is no other incident in his entire career that you can point to. So you're talking about a high school kegger, and that's it. Like, there's nothing else. Every other person says nice things about him.
And I mean, the stories about that high school kegger are so different. Like, I've read... There were only 4 guys there, which greatest kegger ever.
It's a sucky kegger.
Or greatest. I mean, it depends on how many women are there.
No, it's true. Okay, I hear what you're saying. Okay,
right.
Good point.
Yeah.
My bad. I wasn't taking that angle.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's, there were only 4 guys there. So initially I think it mixed up and it got reported that 4 guys did this and he was one of them. But then it was like, oh no, there were 4 guys at the kegger. And then I was like, okay, well, there's only 4 guys at the kegger, which doesn't make sense anyway, because if it's a kegger in high school, more than 4 guys are showing up.
Exactly.
And then it was like, oh crap, what was the next part I was going to say? There was I totally forgot. That went.
It was a pool party.
Yeah, it was a pool. It was a pool party.
She went upstairs to the bathroom, and then she got turned. They pulled her in there, but they didn't even actually. And the other thing is this: there's no allegation of actual rape. It was sexual assault.
Right.
So they didn't. As far as they're concerned, they didn't complete the task in which they were trying to do. And there's just so many holes in this story.
There's so many holes in this story. I mean, so many. She couldn't remember when it was, where it was.
Or even what year it was,
or what year it was, or who the other people were, and then it was like, oh, I think it was so and so, and she just named somebody else that was there.
Oh, did she really?
She referenced him as PJ, and I don't remember PJ's name off the top of my head because I didn't know how deep in this rabbit hole we were going to go. Otherwise, I would have looked it up.
Yeah.
But I read his statement afterwards, and he said, no, that never happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are saying this never happened. And, and even the people that are saying, oh, I remember hearing about it, they take that stuff down right away.
Yeah, they've all taken it back.
Yeah. So I hope this doesn't, I don't even know how you can get the truth to come out on this one. I just hope, I don't think it sounds credible. And you know what? If you're going to come forward with an allegation like this, you better come up with proof of it. And you better not get offended if somebody asks you for the proof. Like, that's the other thing I think really annoys me. If anybody has any questions about this, then they almost get like, well, then you hate women.
Right.
Like, no, I hate liars.
I love women.
Yeah.
My track record proves I love women. But I hate liars. I hate it when people, especially somebody who's attempting to defame somebody, ruin a career, ruin the rest of a life. just for political purposes.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's just because he got nominated by Trump, and they just hate Donald Trump.
Right.
And again, Trump derangement syndrome is a thing, and in honesty, it happens on both sides.
It goes both ways.
No, it does. And it's the same thing that happened with Obama. Look, there were people that loved Obama and he could do no wrong, and there were people that hated Obama and he could do no right. Is that it happens both ways, and I wish we would get to a place to where you call out the crap for the crap that it is, and you attaboy the stuff that needs to be attaboyed. You give praise where it's due, and you give criticism where it's due.
Yeah.
I think if you were to do that more often, we'd have a much better government, and we'd also have a much better grouping of politicians.
Yes.
Because right now it's just whoever can get through the sleaziest crap gets elected.
Right. And I mean, with the media, they will never focus on the good stuff.
No.
They won't do it. Instead, they're focusing on 2 scoops of ice cream and Diet Cokes. And it's like, who cares if he gets 2 scoops of ice cream and a Diet Coke? Like, as opposed to 1 scoop for everybody else. Which, honestly, if I was in the White House and he only gave me 1 scoop of ice cream, I'd be like, Donald, what?
Yeah.
What? Why?
2 scoop me.
Yeah, you better just bring me the carton.
Yeah, what are you, commie?
Right.
2 scoop me, That's a bunch of crap. I want 2 scoops.
I want 2
Matter of
scoops.
fact, I want a chocolate and a vanilla. I want swirl.
Right.
I want to be able to swirl it myself.
And actually throw a cherry on top of it.
Yeah.
Because, that's how I do it.
Because feelings.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know how it's all going to turn out. I hope that if Kavanaugh hasn't done this, I hope that... Well, I don't hope he gets in because I don't really like the guy. But I hope this doesn't derail his future.
Yeah. No, it's good. Look, if you think about it, this is along the lines of Clarence Thomas. If you were to give something that happened in the past, this is much more along the lines of Clarence Thomas.
Yes.
To where, look, the left always hates Clarence Thomas, but normal people don't really hold any ill will to Clarence Thomas. He is a Supreme Court, justice. I think Kavanaugh's going to end up getting the nomination.
I do too. I think by the end of next week he's probably not the end of next week, but the end of the week after that.
Well, and the Democrats want to delay as long as possible because they do want to derail this. Because in their minds, if they derail this long enough, they think they're going to take the Senate in the November elections. Right. So then they can pick the nominee, and then Trump will put it out there. But then they are going to have a lot of control because they'll own all the committees and they can just turn down every one of Trump's pick, which they might end up doing. Like they may, if they take control of the Senate, they may leave that spot open until the next election cycle. For the hopefully they're hoping at that point that either a Democrat will get elected or that they'll be able to impeach Trump.
Right.
So they're hoping for that, which is sad, but either way, I think Kavanaugh's going to get this thing. I think that they've massively overplayed their hand in this. I think that you picked an issue that is going to rile up Republicans to go out and vote and to vote in mass. And I also think you are pissing off average Americans that are just sick and tired of seeing this stuff.
Right.
So I think that you're going to end up damaging your cause if your cause is the blue wave. Like, I think that look, if the woman had some credibility, it'd be one thing, but she doesn't. No.
I think they're just trying to coattail. They're trying to use the blue wave to coattail on the Me Too movement, and I think that was a misstep. That was a huge misstep.
I think they're doing damage to the Me Too. I think that women shouldn't be sexually harassed. I think that that's wrong. But at the same time, you have to call it when it's appropriate. And if it's not appropriate, then you shouldn't call it. And if you're gonna make this claim every time something happens, then if everything's racism, then nothing's racism.
Right.
That's what happens.
Essentially, yeah. But right now, we live in a society where everything is racist.
Well, one side, because we're going to get into the governor's race. Yeah, one side is definitely going to claim that you're my best friend's sister's boyfriend's brother's girlfriend. Heard from this guy who knows this kid who says you're racist.
Right. Not
to use a Ferris Bueller reference on there, but I totally got that right. By the way,
you did 100%. I was like, wait a minute, nailed it.
He got it.
He nailed it. God, I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
That is Dan Quayle's favorite movie.
Is it really?
It is.
I did not know I had that in common with him.
Yep.
I saw that in the movie theater.
Did you really?
Yeah. Everybody, like my whole family was going. They were going to go see Poltergeist was in. I forget which number Poltergeist, but Poltergeist was in the movie theater. And I really wasn't into those kind of movies. And so next door was this thing called Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I watched it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is a great movie!"
It is a great movie.
I've seen it hundreds of times since now, but
I couldn't even tell you how many times I've seen that movie.
Love that movie.
Love that movie. Cameron Fry is my all-time favorite.
When Cameron was in Egypt's land, let my Cameron go.
See, and now we've upset Muhammad because we're two white guys singing about Egypt.
You know what? We're appropriate in that culture. I don't care.
I don't care. It's fine.
We sell you tanks.
Right. So let's get into the Florida politics. Since you were the campaign
manager for Bob White.
For Bob White, yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say campaign chair, and I was like, that's not right.
No. So DeSantis won the primary in the Republican side.
He did,
and I would say handily won it, which I was a little bit shocked at.
I was actually surprised by that percentage.
Yeah, that was a big number. It was a lot different than in the Dem side because nobody picked Gillum to win. By the way,
no,
nobody picked Gillum to win.
I did not think there was a chance of Gillum winning.
No, I didn't think so either. And again, I don't think the Democrats actually did a good job of vetting their own candidates on this one.
No,
because I think that because none of the other candidates actually viewed Gillum as a threat, none of them actually went after Gillum. Because there's a lot to go after Gillum.
There is so much to go after Gillum.
Yeah, like there's a lot. And I'm not even talking about like the fact that he is a socialist. I'm not even going down that road. I'm talking like the work, he's been mayor of Tallahassee. That's the city with like the highest crime rate.
The highest crime rate in Florida. And
corruption.
It exploded. The crime rate exploded while he's been mayor there.
Yeah. He's I guess you can't blame him for what people are doing, but he didn't help with creating the conditions. And the CRA stuff is real. That FBI investigation is real. And while they don't have him dead to rights yet, there's a whole lot of shady stuff going on with Gillum when it comes to those things. Like, it's bad. It's really bad.
It's really bad.
So I was surprised that he was able to squeak through it. But now that's who we have. So we have Gillum against DeSantis. There are other candidates that are out there, but there is not one other candidate that is even remotely worth talking about.
Right. And Gillum versus DeSantis, it's Sanders versus Trump. That's what this is.
Yeah. It's sad.
You've got Sanders-backed, you've got the Sanders-backed candidate, which is obviously Gillum, and then the Trump-backed candidate, which is obviously DeSantis. And everybody's saying, a lot of the people on the left that I know anyway, they're all saying that this is going to play out the way it would have played out if Trump fought Sanders or went against Sanders instead of Clinton. And my argument is you don't know what would have happened.
Yeah, that's way too. I guess that's wishful thinking, but
I think that's a lot of it is wishful thinking. And I'm like, you have no idea what would have happened. I don't think Sanders wins that race.
Oh, yeah. Look, Gillum's going to have to come out with he's already come out with policy positions, and those policy positions are just stupid. They're just dumb. You're literally going to look, the reason that the left is going on race every time in this thing, let's break down one of DeSantis' comments about monkeying this thing up. What he said. Look, that wasn't racist.
That was not racist.
That wasn't even close to racist.
That was a military term.
Yeah. It was something. It's something that it's in some people's vernaculars about monkeying this thing up, and it has nothing to do with black people. It has to do with monkeys.
Right. Don't monkey around. Don't monkey this up.
Yeah. And if you hear that, and I will say this, if you hear that and you think of black people, then you may need to question your own racism. Because when I heard him say it, it didn't sound racist to me.
When I heard, because I was watching that and I heard him say it, and it just breezed right through me as though it was nothing. Which many of the people who don't like me, which I'm finding out daily that there are more and more of them everywhere, they would just say that's because you're so ingrained to racism that.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but I also know that the band The Monkees sang a song, and in the opening line says, "We're just here to monkey around."
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody has ever accused Davy Jones of being racist.
Yeah. It's just,
Mike Nesmith, maybe. No, I'm just kidding.
But now that the blood's in the water on the racism thing. So now it's everything. David Horowitz, he did an event with David Horowitz, and David Horowitz is a racist, even though Horowitz isn't a racist. I don't like David Horowitz. He's a neocon that I personally don't like or agree with on most things.
Right.
Only because he actually should be a commie. I mean, he should be in the Democrats, but that's a different story for a different day. Is that, like, they're going back, like, he was the admin on a page that had memes on it that were, racist memes. Now let's go with the thing that, okay, there were racist memes in that page. Do you really think that Ron DeSantis is managing Facebook groups?
Right.
Like, do you really think that it was him and not somebody else? And that when they saw that, they weren't like, oh my God, what are these people freaking doing? You know what I mean? And like the thing is that they use this 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon on Ron DeSantis. But they won't use 1 degree when it comes to Gillum. Like, Gillum has been around people that if we're going to use the same standard that we're using for Ron DeSantis, then Gillum hates Israel, hates Jews, wants to see Sharia law. Like, if we're going to use that standard, then let's use it across the board this way. And again, I didn't vote for DeSantis in the primary.
No, I would imagine I know who you voted for.
Yes, I voted for Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, so Gillum's going on. He's saying he wants to get rid of all assault weapons.
He wants to do an assault weapons ban.
Yeah, assault weapons ban in Florida.
Which would never happen. Even if he does get elected, it won't happen.
And I think, has he come out and said that he wants an income tax in Florida?
I haven't heard that one.
Okay.
I know he's talked about we need to raise more revenue and things like that.
Right.
But how he wants to do that, I don't think he wants to do it via a raising of actually trying to institute an income tax. Again, that would be impossible to do in the state of Florida as well.
Yeah. You would lose 100%.
You're done. You're done. If you even try this, you're done. Yeah, you can't even try. Again, the legislature would never go for this.
No.
Never go for this. They would never go for this. And you need the legislature in order to get this done. He wants to increase taxes. He wants to increase corporate taxes. And it's only a couple percentage points, but it does represent it is a 40% tax increase, but it's not to go to 40%. It's just to go from, I think we're at 6 or 5 something, and we go to 5 to 7 or something like that along those lines. Like, it's not, and he wants the $15 an hour thing. He wants to do that.
Right, which is stupid. That just puts people out of jobs. It keeps people out of jobs. Mm-hmm. It makes it impossible for the low-skilled workers to find jobs. It makes, the people who fight for the $15 for any minimum wage requirements, really, I don't understand it, because I'm like, do you think that that's just gonna do you think that these people are just going to be able to find these jobs anyway? No, they're going to figure out different ways to do it. Hence self-checkout lines and the self-checkout lines and the kiosks at McDonald's and all that kind of stuff.
That's the thing, and they're moving towards that now.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I go to them every single time. If I have less than 20 items at a grocery store, I go through the self-checkout line, because one, I don't have to talk to whatever slackjaws sitting on the other side, and I don't have to deal with that awkward conversation that I don't want to be a part of, and I get done faster.
Yeah.
I get done so much faster.
So he supports. He's all for that. He's very much anti-school choice. He very much wants to eliminate charter schools. He doesn't want those. He doesn't. He views that as taking away the money from the government to educate the children, is the way he looks at it. And DeSantis is much more of a school choice guy than Gillum is. Gillum is very much like, they did this thing where, they talked about he's not a socialist. He's
completely
a socialist. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that my bar, or probably your bar, is definitely swayed a little bit different. But he ain't a capitalist. I can tell you that right now. He is somebody that wants to use the government to enrich himself and to enrich his buddies, even though he's not very good at it. But he's trying. He's getting there. He hasn't gotten a position that really has been able to get him, way up there. But don't act like he's this everyman, just poor dude that's I'm just happen to be the mayor of Tallahassee. That dude, he's not poor.
No.
Don't get me wrong. Out of all the candidates that were running for Democrat, he was the poorest one, but every one of them was millionaires.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely not a poor candidate.
He's winning right now, too.
Right now, he's up in the polls.
No, 4 points is I think the biggest north I've seen him is by 4 points.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the biggest I think I've seen.
And I honestly think, I think DeSantis wins this race.
I think so.
So, okay. Because, they've got Gillum up in the polls for governor. But they've got Rick Scott up in the polls for Senate.
Yeah, it's either tied or up. It's tied or up, which is really weird.
Which is weird, because who are they polling? Are they polling the same people on this? Because if not, who's voting for Gillum and Scott?
Name ID means something, I guess. I don't know. That you're right, though. I don't know if they're doing this polls at the same time or if they're counting the same polls, but it's a like after 16 though. I can't even trust polls anymore, though.
Oh God, no.
Like even now, like at least it gives you a gauge and it's close. So okay, I'll go with that. It's close and there's a gauge, but there is no there's not going to be any outside candidate that's going to be taken away from either one of these two. Like there's only two really candidates to vote for in both races, whether it's Scott against Nelson or whether it's Gillum against DeSantis. It really does. There is no third party, and if you want to even use the word spoiler, I wouldn't use the word spoiler, but there is no third party candidate in this one. Not really.
I mean, you've got the Reform Party candidate, and you've got the NPA guy.
Now, here's the thing. I just checked this earlier, just before we went on air. The other, I'm not going to name the Reform Party candidate's name because he doesn't deserve it. But the Bruce Nathan, who ran as a Republican, and I don't think this worked because I looked on there and it said that he still was a Republican and that he lost in the primary.
Right, which he did.
But he tried. He tried something because there is a loophole within the law because they did the Charlie Crist rule that says you can't switch parties. You can't switch parties and then keep running.
It has to be 1 year and 1 day before an election, I believe.
Correct. However, going from Republican to MPA or Democrat to MPA is not party switching, so that is allowed. So technically, and this is what Bruce was threatening to do, is he was threatening to go MPA and then run as an MPA in the general. Right. Which we knew this was going to... I don't want to say I knew this was going to happen, but I knew this was going to happen. Look, this guy wasn't... I can't believe I'm saying this. Look, he ran as an MPA before. He didn't run as a Republican before. And he ran as a Republican this time. But he only did that because he could get into groups and start talking, where the last time he realized that he couldn't... there wasn't any groups he could go to because you can't go to... If you're not running as a Republican or a Democrat, then you're very limited in where you can go and talk at. Right. Because most of the places, especially for the primary stuff, is either a Republican one or a Democrat one. And you have to be one of those two parties in order to go, especially for like Republican clubs and a lot of these Trump clubs, which is he was trying to moniker himself as the first, and he called himself the first Trumpian candidate. Right. Yeah, he was calling himself Florida's Trump. Oh my God. I got nothing for that guy. Yeah, I was thinking, why? Trump won, but Trump did that because he's Trump. You're not Trump. Yeah, there's only one of those guys. Yeah, you don't have the brand. Well, yeah, and there's quite a few candidates that I will say that acted in the Trump fashion when it came to how they ran for office, and a lot of those guys actually lost, and the reason they lost is because there's only one dude that can get away with that. Yeah, and he's been doing it for 30 years. Yeah, and he's like this guy. This guy had been trying to run for president a bunch of times before this. And honestly, he probably didn't think he was going to win either, but. So Bruce is running. I don't think he was, like I said, I checked the Division of Elections website. I don't think it's going to happen for him because it hasn't changed in there, and by now it should have changed. Right. Yeah, I saw that on his Twitter feed yesterday. He was saying, "Isn't it time that we have a third party?" Which I found that to be hilarious. Isn't there a time we have an MMA match with a friggin' Nazi? Right. Because that's what he wanted to do last election cycle. Insane people, and I get. See if I can. Is he the one that challenged? Yes, he's the one that challenged Augustus. Oh my God! That when I first saw him running, we were at Citrus County, as a matter of fact, and we were at Citrus County for they had a Republican barbecue event that was up there. Me and Bob were up there. And there was a bunch of candidates, politicians up there. Like Corcoran was up there, and Wilton Simpson was up there, and Caldwell, I think, was even up there. And there was a bunch of people all up there, right? And so Bruce was up there. And again, look, it's funny. Look, I know a lot of people, or I know about a lot of people, even though I don't think that necessarily coincides, where people don't, especially for that one, I can understand how you probably don't remember who I am or anything like that. Right. But I remembered. And so he looked at me, and he was like, "I'm Bruce Nathan." And I'm like, "I know who you are." And it was just like that. Like, "Oh, I know who you are." You know, who you MMA fighting this time? Like, I'm just not happy with it. And the reason I'm not happy with it is because I actually want to see people win elections and be serious about campaigning and running. And if you have someone that isn't serious about it, that just goes in there and acts a fool, that doesn't understand the position that they're running for, nor how to actually apply what positions and issues that they have effectively, and you just say dumb stuff, I get offended. Like, I get offended by that. I don't like it. I want people to be serious when they're running, and I want people to understand the position that they're running for. And when they don't, it offends me. I get offended. And maybe I shouldn't get offended. Maybe I should just be willing to let it go. And for the most part, I do let it go. I don't say anything. I mean, I've never talked about this publicly until today.
Right. I was going to say until right now.
Until right now. But the thing is this, though, is that, you know, if you're going to go up, like and I normally I would let most of it go. However, and I wasn't there for this, but I remember being told about this. When Bob would go up there and campaign, Bob would talk about the years that he was with the years with the RLC and how he was going out there in order to, he was basically explaining that he has the experience because of all the time that he spent lobbying in Tallahassee for good bills and really understanding how the process works. So he was kind of laying out his legislative chops in order to, you know, basically let people know that you are elected, even though I've never been elected to office before, because I have all this experience, that, you know, I'm a person that can go in there and get things done right from day one. This guy, Nathan, used that against Bob and said, well, Bob's been going up there for years and nothing's changed, so that's why you should vote for me. Meanwhile, this is the same guy that said one of his plans is to let homeless people sleep in the governor's mansion. Like, he's going to convert the governor's mansion from being the place where the governor sleeps at to being a place where homeless veterans sleep at. Because
to being a shelter?
Yeah, to being a shelter. Now, again, this pulls at the heartstrings. It's one of these things where it pulls at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
But if you think that getting 15 people a home is actually going to fix the homeless problem, or that you're going to lose the space because the governor does dinners and functions, he brings you bring homeless veterans up there and you hold an event for homeless veterans in the governor's mansion. Yeah, you do events there.
You don't give out the entire place and be like, well, this is now yours. And
it ain't yours to give out,
right? No,
just because you win the job, you're a steward of the position. But this goes along the line with not understanding the position that you're running for. And then he had this thing about healthcare, how it's and on his business card said trademarked. Like, trademark on his business card. Look, if you have such a great healthcare plan, then go out and do that. That's a great idea. Don't run for governor. What are you doing? What are you running for governor for if you have this great plan?
Just go out and push your healthcare idea.
Yeah, just go out. But it goes down the line every time when you see candidates that shouldn't be running for office, and then they wonder why they don't get recognized. Like, they wonder why they're considered, you know, like, boy, this sounds so establishment to say it this way. I used to wonder why they don't just let everybody on the stage. Like, why don't they just let everybody in the debate and let them all on the stage? And then I started looking at some of these other candidates that are out there. And you know what? I wouldn't let them on the stage either. I don't want them to be on the stage because they're morons. They lower the level of intellectual discourse in these things, and they bring it down to the rent's too damn high party guy.
Yeah, but okay, I love the rent's too damn high party guy.
No, I love that dude too, but it's not serious.
It's not serious. And
I wouldn't love him if I lived in New York.
I wouldn't love it, no. So I do think that everybody needs to be on the stage, because in situations like what happened at the Florida primaries, where Bob wasn't on the stage. Yeah, no,
I understand that too. I understand how this is what I'm saying is somewhat of a controversy, because there's been also a little bit of a reversal. But I'm looking at it as like, I'm sick and tired of stupid candidates.
That's fair. I mean, the Republicans in the 2016, when they had to have two separate debates.
Oh, because there were so many running. Yeah, don't tell me you can't put everybody up on the stage, because you could.
Because you could.
You know, and I think if you put Bob on that stage, like, I think if you put Bob on the stage in those debates with him and Putnam and DeSantis, I think if you stick Bob up there, I think Bob does very, very well.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen Bob talk. He's fantastic.
I do wish there was what I hope we could get to when it comes to the inclusion in the debates is a minimum that an individual could reach with hard work. Do you know what I mean? Like if the threshold was set in a way in which it didn't matter what other people did, as long as you did those things, and it was set in a way that could weed out the crazy, but yet let the normal person that doesn't have the backing get to there. And again, I don't know where that number is at because I don't think it's the percentage of the your percentage in a poll. I think that's the wrong way to do it.
I absolutely think that's the wrong way to do it. I actually think
I would be more inclined with a monetary number. I think like $100,000. If you raised $100,000
for campaign,
for your campaign, then you should be allowed in the debates.
Okay.
I think I'd be good with that.
So completely spinning off, what about for presidential? Like what would you think? Because right now I think they have it 15%.
You'd have to be on I think that you'd have to be on enough ballots to have a reasonable chance of winning.
I think that if you're on, I think that's kind of where I'm at. If you're on enough ballots to have a reasonable chance of winning, if you won every state that you're in, that you are on the ballot for, you should be on the debate stage.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And Gary should have been on the debate stage. I mean, I think
Gary and Jill, I think, should.
I think Jill's. I think that the Green Party has ballot access in enough states that they would have been able to do that.
I think 2016 was the first year that was possible. I think she was done just enough that she would have been able to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. But when it comes to, what are we on, DeSantis and stuff still?
Yeah, DeSantis and stuff.
So, I mean, I think that DeSantis is going to win this thing at the end of the day. And I actually think one of the reasons for this is that I've seen, look, I know that there's this blue wave. And in certain places around the state, the Democrats are going to win and they're going to win elections. They may pick up a couple seats in the state house. They may pick up a couple seats in the state senate. They're not going to get the majorities, but they may pick up a couple here and there. I just don't think they're going to win the governorship because I do think that the Republican Party of Florida has done. And again, I'm a Republican now, so I guess I get to talk about this. I've seen the plans that they're doing in the Republican Party. Like I've seen like the not the agenda. It's not the right word, but like the plan, the get out the vote effort.
Right.
And you know what? I actually think they got a pretty solid get out the vote effort.
Yeah.
I got to give Blaze a lot of credit on this one, who's the chair of the RPF. Like, I got to give him a lot of credit. I think they got a really good thing going. And don't get me wrong, they got some candidates in some tight races. But some of the guys that we like are in tight races, too. Which is kind of, we got Ray Blackledge, which is in this area.
Yeah.
And Ray's a great candidate. He does great,
Ray's a
really
fantastic
good.
candidate.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's just, I like Ray. Brandis is down here. Now, that's not going to be as close. You got Hooper against Amanda Murphy. That's one they're targeting. Like, they got a lot
riding on that one.
Oh, yeah.
They've got a lot riding on that one. And that seems to flip every day.
Oh, yeah.
Who's up. But I think right now he's up by 3 right now.
Yeah, I think it's the last polling on that one was like 3 or 4 points.
Right.
Which is within the margin of error, though. So you
is.
don't even know.
That's true. Yeah, it's either he's up by 6 or he's tied.
Yeah, so I think November's going to tell a lot of. There's going to be a lot of things that November's going to tell a lot on the direction of the way that what's going to happen moving forward. And I don't mean like, look, if Gillum wins, there's just not going to be like he's going to have the bully pulpit to talk about a lot of these things. But, like, he can't actually do a lot of that.
Yeah, I was going to say nothing's going to happen because he's still going to have to be dealing with a legislature that's not going to pass anything.
But the Republicans are not going to be able to do a lot either.
That's true.
Because he's got line item veto power. Like, the state, the governor of Florida has line item veto, so it's going to be a war, which is going to be more gridlock, which I guess you could say is a good thing.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, may not be a bad thing that there's gridlock. And there's going to be more gridlock in D.C. Like, if, I still don't think, though, that the Democrats are going to take the Senate and the House in Washington. I still think you're going to have a Republican majority.
I don't think so.
I think the Dems have overplayed their hand.
I agree. So, with Rick Scott, Bill Nelson. Like, Bill Nelson's been in Congress since 1980.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. He's been in Congress since 1980, whatever. And, I don't know when he went into Senate. I think, was that against...
I don't remember. But it's been a long time.
Yeah, It's been a while. So he's the establishment there. And then you've got Rick Scott, who governor of Florida for the last
8 years.
And I don't know who's going to win that race. I'm leaning, I think Scott right now.
Yeah, I think Scott right now. Look, I think that here's the thing. Look, I have been involved in campaigns that were against Rick Scott. When Adrian was running, We were running against Rick Scott. I am not per se a fan of Rick Scott. However, in looking at the race between the two, I mean, like take who I'm going to vote for out of it for a second. Rick Scott's running on term limits for Congress or for the Senate, whatever, for term limits in federal offices. He's running on that. Now, you can't really do much with that.
Right. That's not going to get passed.
Like, it's not going to get passed, but he is sticking to that message like it's going out of style.
Yeah. That's waving the red flag or whatever it is.
That's red meat. Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, look at this. We want term limits now. We want term limits so that way we don't get these career politicians. Mm-hmm. And it'll never pass because there's no way Congress will.
But people love term limits, man.
People love term limits.
And if there's one thing about Rick Scott that you have to give him credit for, is that man can stick to message unlike anybody I've ever seen.
He is really good at sticking to message.
I mean, think about the job thing. Like what'd you eat today? Jobby, job, 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 job. Like, it didn't matter, man. That dude said job all the time.
Constantly.
Term limit's going to be the same thing for him. And you know what? When it comes to a lot of issues, compare him to Bill Nelson, I mean, I'd say I'm probably a 75 to an 80%er with Rick Scott.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not a 75 to an 80%er with Bill Nelson.
I mean, Rick Scott's going to have a huge issue with the red tide.
Yeah.
Red tide is going to be the biggest issue for Rick Scott, but that's not going to affect him in the middle of the state. That's only going to affect him on the outside. Just in the Gulf Coast, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's but they are working. Well, look, they didn't really fix it.
No.
And even their plans aren't really fixing it. Because what they needed to do is they actually need to make those reservoirs north of Lake Okeechobee and not south of Lake Okeechobee. That was one of the problems is that we thought we were way better than Mother Nature on this.
Right.
We straightened out a river that we never should have straightened out. The Corps of Engineers did this a long, long time ago. But now we're running into the problems of this, and they need to make the reservoirs north of the lake, not south of the lake.
By the way, for anybody who doesn't know what red tide is, because I just realized that most of our listeners are in San Francisco.
Are they really?
Yeah.
You have a lot of listeners in San Francisco?
It's our number one city by a wide margin.
No shit.
Yeah, it's San Francisco, San Jose, Ashburn, Virginia, St. Petersburg.
Huh.
Yeah. So most of the people probably don't know what red tide is. But red tide it comes from the Okeechobee River, and there's runoff that happens from the sugar farms, and because of the toxicity of the runoff, it takes the Okeechobee River and runs out into the Gulf of Mexico, and it kills a bunch of fish. Essentially, is what it is.
Yeah,
and it's essentially a man-made problem because of what Alex just said, and it's awful. It smells terrible because you just have this floating sea of dead fish that just kind of works its way down.
Yeah, you know what dead fish sound smells like. I mean, even San Francisco's got to know that.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, it's awful. It's for the last 2 weeks. It's been right here in the Pinellas area.
Oh yeah, because it's moving.
Yeah, and it's been. Anytime I've been out near the beaches, it has been awful.
Yeah. This problem needs to get fixed.
It needs to get fixed, and it needs to get fixed like yesterday.
Well, it's not going to get fixed until look, they're still doing studies and they're working on certain things. But all right, a bunch of years back in Florida, they passed this one amendment called Amendment 1. And Amendment 1 was designated to you take a certain tax. I think it was dock stamp taxes. Is that dock stamp taxes were going to be there specifically for environmental purposes. Now, buying land was part of the environmental purposes, but that wasn't the only thing that they can do. And it raises like $800 million. Now, we found out later on we were already spending more money than that anyway. Like, the Amendment 1 people actually, if they actually realized how much money was being spent on environmental stuff, they probably would have tried to do it differently than they did, because we were already spending more money on the environment than what they were spending with Amendment 1 funds, and now all they did was just put it all in one thing. And credit to Wilton Simpson on that one. I got to give him credit. He was actually pretty smart about that. But this is the kind of problem where we need to take all the money, instead of buying more land, we need to take the money. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe there is some buying of land that will be needed in order to fix this problem. But all of Amendment 1 money should go to fix this problem next year. Is that spend $800 million then,
on
because
fixing,
that's what we did
to
fix the whole thing, to get it all fixed.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, you can't spend the money to unstraighten the river out that you never should have straightened out to begin with, you arrogant people. But, at the same time, they got to fix this problem, though. And Look, the sugar guys are partly to blame for this. They're not the only ones to blame, but they're partly to blame for this.
Agreed that I've got my issues with Big Sugar anyway. Because
I have no problems with Big Sugar. If you can tell, I use a lot of their sugar because
do you use the sugar or do you use the corn syrup though?
I don't know, probably a little bit both.
Right. So yeah, we don't sell enough sugar. The Big Sugar, the people who are sugar farmers still get paid from the government because we didn't sell enough sugar. But for some reason, we can't use the sugar in the sodas that we have here, and we get corn syrup instead.
Oh, God.
Which, all of that just annoys me, because I'm like, just let us use the sugar, and then we don't have to give them a government stipend.
Yes.
But for some reason, we can't, because I think we have to sell enough corn as well. So that's how we ended up with corn syrup.
That's a whole show.
I know.
It's a whole show right there.
The entire thing makes no sense to me. But you've got the Big Sugar people they're the sugar farmers who are like, well, okay, I'm going to still farm here because I don't care. It doesn't affect me because it really doesn't because it all goes out. And then they're still getting paid no matter if they sell enough or not. And yeah, the entire thing needs to be fixed. And it has been going on so long that it seems almost impossible to fix it without getting rid of sugar.
They could fix it without getting rid of sugar. They could fix it without. I mean, you have to limit, maybe not have as much out there. There's a lot. We spent. I mean, out on the campaign trail, we spent a lot of time on this one. This issue was something that Bob really did some research on. Hallman, who was his policy advisor, did a lot of research on. Wrote a couple white papers about it. He had good plans. Bob had really good plans as far as this one is concerned. And if you ever had Bob on the air, well, you've had him on before.
I've had him on before.
You might want to, if you wanted to talk about just this issue, you could do like a show on just this issue with Bob, and he would give you some good stuff. Matter of fact, I will say that we are going to try as the RLC goes, is that even though Bob didn't win the election, we are going to be going up to Tallahassee the next session. And this is going to be on our radar as one of the things that we're going to be like kind of talking about, because this problem does seriously have to be. Look, man, maybe this is where my libertarian creds don't always hold up all the way. Let me just say that right off the bat.
So you're not a real libertarian. Got it.
Well, no. But what I will say is this: if you have a company or companies that are polluting the environment, then they are infringing on the rights of other people. That is something that is going on. And that right now, there is not a mechanism that we have that we can get, for lack of a better term, revenge.
Right.
So we got to fix this problem.
I mean, we could sue them, but that won't do anything.
Yeah, but right now,
it's not going to change.
Yeah, but right now you couldn't even do. Yeah, right now you couldn't even almost do that. Like, because they're legally even allowed to do what they're doing.
Right.
Like, nobody's breaking the law here. Like, there's nobody you can point to and be like, that's the bad guy, that's the guy that's doing it, that's who's breaking the law. Because in all reality,
according to Facebook, that's Rick Scott, by the way.
Well, of course it's Rick Scott, but,
right.
Like, even for the Medicare thing, well, at any rate, I don't want to go off subject on this one. I do want to make sure I stay here. We do have to fix this problem, and I do think that it rests on the state of Florida as a governmental agency in order to fix it, because they're the ones that screwed it up, too. Like, they're partly to blame, too. So they got to, they're culpable in this. So let's get them to fix it. Because I think if you just erase them out of it right off the bat right now, that does not, there isn't a mechanism within the free market that would fix this problem immediately. There isn't one that is there. So you do need the government to step in to this point to fix it. Even though I will totally agree with you that governmental policy is one of the things that screwed a lot of this stuff up.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, the red tide thing, whenever I've been out talking to people about which issues they care about during this election cycle, that's been the big one this year.
Wow. Okay. That's cool.
That's been
I did not know that one I don't get that one as much.
No,
I have not.
Yeah, I've gotten that one a bunch.
That's cool. Oh, kind of glad to hear that, actually.
Yeah. So, and I've seen the red tide, and it's disgusting and it smells awful. So it kills tourism. It hurts businesses. Like, we definitely need to fix it. Yeah. Because Florida survives on tourism.
Yeah. And I think in the next legislative session, I actually think you're going to see some fixes to these things.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're ever... The other thing is this, though. And let me bring this... I'll bring it up maybe in a little bit of a different way. There's always going to be problems, though. Like, there's always going to be hurricanes. There's always going to be damages. There's going to be catastrophic incidents. And a lot of times you can't blame anybody for when they happen. Even this one, which was, it's kind of predictable. It's kind of like it's not like they said, well, we're just going to have red tide now and just go with it. There's a lot of factors that came into play in order for this to happen this way. So it's, but look, this is where I think that you have to measure your environmentalism. Because a lot of these people are what they're asking for when it comes to how you fix the environmental problem is going to be worse than what we currently have right now. Like if you look at, like they talk about gasoline engines being such a horrible thing to the environment, and how the CO2 engine has been the worst thing that's happened or whatever, right?
Which the guy who started Greenpeace was saying, no, that's not even close to accurate.
Yeah. But let's take them further. Let's say, okay, these are bad, right?
Okay.
What were we doing before this? We had horses who was crapping everywhere. That was an environmental problem. This thing fixed that problem. Don't get me wrong, we got new problems, but this fixed that, and we'll continue to fix things. Technology will be the answer many times to the problems that we have right there.
Right.
And if we got government out of the way, we'd actually get to the technological fixes better. But there is always going to be some kind of problem, and there is no. Government cannot save you from these problems. They just can't. They are incapable of doing that, and sometimes bad things happen.
I remember when I was probably 15 or so. There was a spec car that was coming out, and it got 145 miles to the gallon. Mm-hmm. And I back then I was a good church-going boy, which I know probably shocks fucking all of you. But I was talking with my youth pastor, and I was like, yeah, they got this car that's coming out that's 145 miles to the gallon. And he said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said, the government would never let that happen because it would hurt the oil companies too much. And yes, he's right. That's probably somewhat accurate, but now you have Priuses and Teslas that don't require any gas. So I guess Priuses do. I'm not 100% sure.
I think your pastor was half right.
Yeah, I think he was half right. Because
I think the part he was missing there was the amount of money in taxes and revenue that the government is able to generate off of that gas.
Right.
That's who's really going to be losing out.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, oil companies are going to be losing out too, but oil's needed for a lot of stuff, though. Like, oil's not only needed for gas. Mm-mm. Oil's needed for all kinds of different stuff.
Right. Oil is needed for plastics, gas.
Modern life.
Yeah. Pretty much all of modern life.
Yeah, modern life. It really is. And look, there are definitely solutions and alternatives to a lot of that stuff. And I really support most of the alternatives to a lot of these things. I just don't support it being mandated by the government that you use them. But however, most of the things that we support are actually banned by the government anyway. Industrial hemp being one of them.
Right, which hopefully...
Hemp would fix a lot of problems.
Hemp would fix a lot of problems. And if Matt Caldwell gets elected...
Yeah, Matt's pro hemp. Matt's pro hemp. Matt's pro hemp. That's a good thing too. I'm glad he is pro hemp on that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He still wants to do the studies before he goes in there because of the prior guy saying that it was an invasive species. That we still have to work through some of those things, but he's going to be coming at it from an honest perspective. He's an honest broker in this one.
Right.
So I think we're going to get there because it's a good idea.
And I can see hemp being an invasive species. I mean, its cousin's known as weed.
Yeah. But,
so,
we got a lot of problems on that front. But I think with Matt, we got an honest broker that I think will do the right thing.
Right. And I mean, I respect Matt. Like, the moment I met him, I knew he's my vote as long as he got the nomination.
Yeah.
Which he did. So,
and that was close too, though. That was a 4-way race.
Yeah, that was close. But I knew he was going to be the one that... I was pretty certain he was going to be the one that won. And I knew he was going to be the one I was voting for if he did win.
Yeah. No, I like Matt.
Yeah, 100%. So we talked a little bit about defending Trump earlier.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit. And the Trump derangement syndrome, how it goes both ways, and that kind of stuff, which it does, because like, you have the trumpeters, who they are anything the Democrats put up bad. Like, we'll go back to Kavanaugh for the case study here. This girl is lying. There is no doubt she is lying. Kavanaugh is fine. He should be approved. Mm-hmm. Right. And the the Democrats on the other side are going, no, this girl's probably telling the truth, or if she isn't telling the truth, like, it's only one man's life that's being ruined, but it's safer to do it that way. And so both sides, fucking nuts. Like, just fucking crazy on both sides. And I'm going to vote for this person because Trump told me to, even though that person might be the KKK member, Corey Stewart. And I guess probably not KKK.
He's not KKK. He was, but I will say this though, he had some alliances that were a little too close.
A little too close.
Like, not like DeSantis. Like, DeSantis doesn't have alliances that were a little too close. Corey Stewart did though.
Yeah, Corey Stewart was.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, Corey Stewart's just do not like that guy, and the fact that I've heard people who are Trumpeters saying, "Well, he's Trump's guy, so I voted for him."
Yeah, no, and you get a lot of that. It happened. The reason DeSantis won so big in Florida,
right? And there's that video that's going around the internet that I'm certain most of the people who are listening to this have seen, or people who are watching this have seen. But the guy he's in an office and somebody says something completely and totally wrong, and he corrects them, and they say, "Why are you a Trump fan?" And then he begins having to defend Trump. I find myself in that situation a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't vote for Trump. I voted for Gary Johnson as well. And I didn't like voting for Gary Johnson, but,
yeah,
you know.
He was the best option you had.
Yeah, he was the best option that we had. And I don't like Trump. I do like a few of the things he has done.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie about that. There have been some things that he has done that I've been like, all right, that's cool. I don't like Kavanaugh that much, but...
Yeah, but that's a different argument than whether you like Trump or not, though.
Fair. But when you're sitting there and you're espousing all of this just crap, all this stuff that is factually untrue, and I have to tell you that it's wrong, and then it sounds like I'm defending Trump when I'm not. I'm actually just trying to
have an accurate reflection of what happened.
Right. And then you're coming back at me like I'm this huge trumpeter, Republican, neocon, whatever. Stop making me do that.
Yes, yes.
Please stop making me do that.
Mm-hmm. And it goes the same way with the other side. If you talk about how you're against tariffs and you're against this other stuff, well, you just want the Democrats to win.
Right.
And it's like, tariffs is a bad idea. This used to be a party of free trade. What happened?
Right. You hate taxes. Tariffs are taxes. Oh, well, we have a tariff.
But China's screwing us over.
We have a trade deficit. You have trade deficits with every company that you do business with. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
the importance that they put on trade deficits is look. Don't get me wrong. Look, if we're buying more products and services overseas, then there is corollarily less people in America that are making these products and services.
Right.
For products, because we're not doing services like this. But when it comes to products, if you're buying your products overseas and you're not buying them here, then you don't have American workers actually making those products. The reason they want to do the tariff is they want to be able to increase the price so much that if they increase it enough, then it's enough money for the Americans to be able to do it. However, and this is the other part, currently, right now, there are millions of skilled labor jobs that are just waiting for people to be filled. Yep. And just like you go on the left on this one, you can go on the right on this one as well, is to say, look, we don't need the tariff thing. We're fine with the trade imbalance the way that it is, because you know what? There's all kinds of different jobs out there for people to take. We don't have to relegate them to factory workers to where they're just sitting there stamping a product. You know what? Buy your cheap crap from China. What do you care?
Right. Like, my iPhone cost $1,000. I don't want that to go up, and if you bring it back to the States, it's going up.
Damn right it's going up.
It's going up, and I don't want that to go up.
Yeah.
Do I understand about how they are being made? Yes, but do I also understand that since iPhone has been making their iPhones over there, that the workers there have been able, now that they've started making money, it may not be a lot of money, but they've started making money, which now means that they have a little bit of power.
Mm-hmm.
They have now been able to demand better working facilities, and they're getting them because they can.
Yeah.
That's the way that works. Like, and I understand you want to bring jobs back to the United States, but innovation brings jobs back to the United States. Don't force companies to do this. Like,
because you're costing them jobs too, though. That's the thing. These tariffs do cost us jobs.
Yes.
it's a matter of fact. But back to the original premise of this, though, which is you have this derangement syndrome to where it doesn't, like, if you say anything of like, well, he didn't really do that. Oh, what are you, a racist, homophobe, bigot, just like Trump is? It's like, no. You're just not being factually correct.
Right. You're just not putting out the evidence in the way that it's supposed to be put out. You're putting out the evidence in your very biased opinion, as opposed to, okay, this is what really happened.
Yeah.
Just like on the right, they do the same thing, but the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're the other side of the coin in this aspect. And what I want to see more of, look, when he does well, I'm going to say he does well. When he does bad, say he does something bad. I don't like the demeanor a lot of times. I don't like when he's insulting on people. But you know what, though? It's not all the time. Sometimes, and this is why this guy won the election, is that sometimes, you know what, going and being a total dick is not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion.
No.
Because some of these people deserve it.
Yes.
Like, they act like, and look, however bad. And again, we're almost in 5-year-old arguments right now. Like, not 5-year-old like 5 years ago. I'm talking like little 5-year-olds.
Yeah, little 5-year-olds.
Is that it's almost like the left was waiting for a reason to act worse than Trump. And so they're using Trump as the reason that they now can act like even bigger dicks. And whenever you're challenged on it, they'll go, well, look at what the president's doing. Like, is that a reason?
Right.
Are you a 5-year-old?
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Mm-hmm.
Which, oddly enough, I saw that argument in a Kavanaugh thread where they said Bill Clinton's do 2 wrongs make a right? Are you what?
Like, that's not even close to the same thing.
No.
Look, if they had some proof on this, look, if this lady could remember the time, date, and location and a couple people to back her up, you know what? That would be credible enough.
That would be credible.
Like, that's how low the bar is for me. Is that if you just had some people that could corroborate that you were there and that it was a party and that you complained about it afterwards. Like, if you're going to tell me that in 1982 that you just didn't tell anybody, like, there's no one that can go back and say.
When you were a 15-year-old.
Come on.
Of course you would have told somebody.
Of course you would have.
Best friend, somebody.
Yeah, you're going to tell me there's not one person. Because here's the thing, too. This isn't like it was a full-on rape. They were attempting it, but they didn't get anywhere with it. Like, they were, again, if what she's saying is true.
If what she is saying is true.
Then he got on top of her and he started feeling her up and down and started trying to pull her panties off, but she got away before that.
Right.
Well, if that's the case, in 82, you're going to tell me you didn't tell anybody about that?
Not a single person.
Come on.
Yeah, that part doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, again, I'm not trying to
blame nobody else, and I'm not, I don't want to blame victims and, like, anything like that, but nobody at the party saw you upset, crying, ask you what's wrong. Nothing.
Like, nothing. To say you didn't see a therapist about it until 2012.
Right.
Like, was it really scarring you that bad if you didn't see anybody until 12? Like,
30 years later.
I don't. And again, look, I never want to. Look, I guess that you could. I mean, again, none of us know exactly what happened. But it just seems like there's so many different shady things that are going on, like thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, and it's like you're poking your own holes in the story. You know, it's like if you were in a boat, you're literally just taking a stick and just you're causing holes.
Right, you're spearing it.
Mm-hmm.
You're essentially trying to sink yourself, which is
just stupid.
Which is why I really don't think it.
I think it was just a delay tactic.
I think it's a delay tactic.
I mean, I feel bad for a person that would be willing to... Because, look, her life is... Here's the thing. Her life is now going to irrevocably change.
Yes.
It already has. And you know what? There are people, and I don't know why they're doing this, that are giving her death threats and things like that. That's bullshit.
That is bullshit.
Like, here's the thing. Like, you can not like the woman, but don't go giving her... Don't do death threats on her.
No. Don't.
Is that where we got to? Is that where we're at? Like, I hope they find the people that did do death threats and that they arrest those people.
Agreed. 100%.
Like,
those people deserve to go to jail.
Yeah, just like the people that are doing it to Kavanaugh's kids.
Yeah.
There's just so much ugliness on both sides. It's not even funny.
Yeah, right now it is the most entertaining time in politics since I've been alive.
Oh yeah. If I had the Carlin aspect, I really would be entertained.
Right.
Like, I feel bad that I'm still involved. So like I still don't I don't what's the word for it? Like
downplay anything?
Yeah, like I still take it kind of seriously. Like, right. I wish I was like Carlin, where Carlin just totally, at a certain point, George Carlin just totally took himself out of it. He's just here as a spectator,
right,
so he can make fun of all of it.
Right.
I'm not there.
I get that. But, yeah, it's the most entertaining time in politics, but at the same time, it's the most divisive side in politics.
It's infuriating. It's infuriating.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
The hatred that both sides have for each other needs to be taken way, way the fuck down.
Yeah.
It needs to be taken way down because it has gotten to a point where people are losing friends.
Oh, yeah.
People are losing friends. Family members don't talk to each other, and none of that should be happening.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. I cannot throw stones on that glass house, though. I'm going to tell you that those things have affected me as well. I can't even lie and say that I am not above it. I am not above it. I do try to choose to ignore it as much as I can. However, it's one of those things where I just choose to ignore it because I can't even handle it. Like, I can't even handle... And it's my own problem, by the way. This is a failing on my part. But... I have a hard time with it myself, even with some people. Like, yeah. I don't want to hear what they have to say anymore. Like, once you go too far, I'm done with you.
You've gone too far. No, I get that. I do get that. I've got a few people that I've unfriended on Facebook just because I was tired of it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some of it is just that I'm tired of the vitriol where it's always, like, it's not like they're giving a consistent opinion. Right. So maybe I might be able to dig myself out of that part. But at the same time, I still don't want to hear it.
Right. No, and I can see that.
But you're right, though. No. But you are right. We need to get past this.
We need to get past this. We need to get past it. We need to get past it soon because...
I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, though.
My family hates when I talk about them on this show. But at Christmas, we were having family dinner. And we started talking about foreign policy, which... Oof. Had my little sister been there, she and I would have been on the same side on foreign policy. Everybody else does not agree. So we were sitting there talking, and I was like, I really feel as though we should just probably bring all the troops back home and close all the bases. Personal opinion of mine. I was
Molotov cocktail.
Yeah. I was told by my older sister that she wanted to punch me in the face for that statement, and I said, that sounds really peaceful. and that was where it really just exploded.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, okay. And then my buddy of like my longest friend, he was sitting there with us and he was like, maybe we should just talk about something else. And I was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
That happens though. That happens.
It does, but really, when you get to the point of threatening to punch family members in the face because they want to bring troops home, maybe it's time to take a step back and be like, do I really care about this issue that much?
Yeah. I just, you know what though? I would imagine though that you do. I think when it comes to the foreign policy aspect, I think that's where, if you look at the reasons for why you believe in what you believe, that you do want there to be a more peaceful world, and I agree with you, by the way. So it's not like I disagree with you on the statement.
I wasn't 100% sure where you stood on that.
Oh no, I'm a total non-interventionist as far as foreign policy goes. No, I think
I knew you were a Marine, so
I can understand that. Sure, no, but war's a racket. Chesty puller, simplify. The reason I say that Chesty puller because he was a Marine,
right?
But the thing about it is that they view that as like you want America to lose,
right?
That's I don't know your sister, so I can't speak. But they think that they think we're losing. Like, oh, if we do that, we lose. Like, what are you losing? What are you going to lose? We shouldn't be over there.
No, we shouldn't.
But we look again. There's so many different problems on that one, but that's a whole different story. Where are we at anyway? By the way?
Yeah, we are way over.
Like, what do you mean way over? Though?
We're at like 1 hour 50 right now.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
we didn't even get to everything on the list, did we?
Not yet. I mean,
hold on. Oh, what did we miss?
We're only missing one.
Oh shit! We got to fix it. Now we got to finish it. Though.
I know we got to finish it. That's like I looked and I was like, I looked at the time on one point and I was like, man, we're kind of almost there. Screw it.
Just do it.
We'll just do a long episode. So yeah, the last thing on the list.
What is the last thing on the list?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh yeah, crap.
Yeah. Bohemian Rhapsody I cannot wait for this fucking movie to come out.
Yes. I'm very much looking forward to this movie coming out, by the way.
The guy that they've got playing him, Rami... I forget Rami's last name.
He was in the iRobot movie.
Yeah, he was in
iRobot?
TV show.
Yeah, the TV show.
The TV show, iRobot. Or...
My Robot.
My
Robot? Damn it. Hold on. I gotta look the crap up.
No, that's fine. But
you keep talking while I look
that's
up.
fine. But it's the story of Queen, and it's the story of Queen and the life of the lead singer, and the trailer. I've only seen one of the trailers. I don't know if they've put out a second one yet, but the trailer for this movie looks so unbelievable. Obviously, the soundtrack's going to be kick-ass because it's Queen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be just amazing.
It's going to be even better than kick-ass, though, because if you know Queen's music, you realize that they were not your regular band. They were incorporating and getting very experimental with a lot of the stuff that they were doing, and I think that part of this movie is going to go into that process that they were doing.
Yes.
And how, but also how they wanted to be interactive with the fans. Like, it was just, I mean, man, I can't wait for this movie.
This movie looks so incredibly good. And, I mean, as much as I didn't want to get into the politics of this movie, the left and the right have been taking two different stands on it. Obviously, he was gay. We all know that.
Yeah.
The right was very...
Well, I think he was bi, though.
I think he was... he may have been bi. He died of AIDS, right?
Yes. No, he was. He definitely was. I mean, he was definitely... I know... We know he liked dudes. I think he was actually both, though.
Okay.
Like, I think he was doing it both ways.
And so the trailer comes out. I think nothing of the trailer. Probably because of my cisgendered...
Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot. That was what it was. Probably because of my cisgendered normalization. But I didn't notice that they didn't bring up the fact that he had a boyfriend in the trailer. People on the left did, and they started like railing on the people who made the trailer because of this.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, there's one in all the... And I've watched all the trailers. There's one scene where a dude is coming up on him as he's playing the piano. Is that what they're talking about?
Well, no. In the first trailer, there was nothing. And that's what the left was getting upset about. There was like, why aren't you addressing the fact that he had a boyfriend in the trailers? It's like, well, we all knew he was gay.
But they don't address everything in trailers.
Right. It's the trailer. You don't need to know everything in the trailer. I mean, granted, for Milk, you probably need a little bit extra, right? Because not a lot of people know who Harvey Milk was.
Yeah.
So you probably need to throw in a little bit extra stuff on there. Everybody knows this guy.
Yeah, it wasn't a secret or a mystery. I mean, but you know what the problem, this goes into the problem, is that if you asked Freddie Mercury about those, I mean, he's dead now, so you can't ask him.
Can't ask him.
But if you were to ask Freddie Mercury about that, I'll bet you he saw the trailer and would have been probably pretty good with it because he was about the music.
Right.
Like, he wasn't about the fact that he was gay. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was, he definitely, it was a part of his life, but it's a movie about his, like, don't get me wrong, a lot of the movie's going to be about him more than it's going to be about the music.
Yes.
But the music plays a huge role in this, at least from watching the previews. By the way, his name, Rami Malek.
Rami Malek.
Who, in all honesty, I can't believe, like, it's really funny that, like, if you watch him in Mr. Robot, and then you watch him as Freddie Mercury, you're like, man, that dude was born to play this freaking role. Like, he was born to be this character, which, it's weird how...
He wasn't the original person cast.
Who were they gonna cast first?
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Oh, thank God they didn't do that.
Thank
God they didn't do that.
I saw a picture of him as Freddie Mercury, and it was pretty spot the fuck on, so I'll give him that credit, but I don't like Sacha Baron Cohen.
Just his acting chops. I mean, he's never... I'd have a lot of concerns if it would have been Sacha Baron Cohen because he's just not that kind of an actor that would be able to play that role.
I agree with that.
So that's probably why it's probably why I went with somebody else. But this dude looked like he was, like, he really looks really good in the movie itself. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you go back and this is what happens when they do some of these movies where there is footage from back in the day,
right? And
then there's footage now, or they're remaking the movie.
Remaking it.
Like, their clothes looked way jankier then. Not to steal Greg's word, but they used Freddie Mercury's outfits looked way jankier back in the day than what the movie's going to show that they look like now. like if you look at like one of his best performances, which was the Africa 8 or something like that, where it was like one of the most legendary performances that they did. And he was wearing these pants, and they looked like mom jeans, man. Like he had like these mom jeans, and they were all janky and all messed up and stuff. Like they weren't badly messed up, but like they were 80s messed up. Like it was, it's not like now.
Right. It wasn't the clean, crisp.
Yeah, because they were, it was doing a concert, but they did awesome. Like the concerts were awesome concerts. I really am looking forward to this movie.
I can't wait for this movie. It looks so good.
Hoping it does. What I'm hoping it does, though, is I'm hoping it does go through. I hope it gives a balanced perspective on the entire movie, because I do want to know a lot about the process, how there's a band that they were treated. I do want to know about some of the stuff that he dealt with in his personal life too, but I don't want him to focus all on one or all on the other. I want him to make sure that they give a balanced, an overall balanced look at the band and him.
Yes, I would agree with that. So, just based on what you've seen in the trailer, and you're one of the few people I know I can ask this question to.
Yeah.
So, based on what you've seen in the trailer, do you think him as Freddie Mercury, or Val Kilmer as Jim Morrison?
Oh man! Just based off the trailer.
You haven't seen the movie, so you can't really give it. You can't really give it the full. Because Val Kilmer is Jim Morrison.
He was a great Jim Morrison.
He was Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
And I love Val Kilmer more than possibly any other actor that's ever lived. So,
even in Magruder? No, he was great in Magruder. No, he was funny in that.
He was funny in that. But
I actually think this guy's going to do a better job as Freddie Mercury.
Wow, that's big. I remember.
But I'm only, hold on. This is a future bet. This is a future bet.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I just think that I think that it's there, and I also think that it's. Wow, I love the Doors and I love Jim Morrison, so I don't want this to sound badly, even though it might sound badly. I think it would be harder to play Freddie Mercury than it would be to play Jim Morrison.
Yes, I will agree with that.
You know what I mean by that?
Jim Morrison was a drunk posing as a poet.
You still got to look. It's only close. It's close, but it's just a little bit harder to play Freddie Mercury than it would be to play Jim Morrison. Partly for that reason, but you still have to have that same. You still have to create the aura that Jim Morrison created, and Val Kilmer did that in the Doors.
He did that. So he did it so well that when I was, 11, 12, something like that, my dad and I walked into a CD store, like a Sam Goodies or something that's no longer in business, I'm certain. And
probably not.
Right, and they had a Doors CD on display because people were buying the shit out of it because that movie had just come out. And I said, Dad, look, it's Val Kilmer. And he said, no, that's Jim Morrison. I said, no, that's Val Kilmer. That is how well he embodied it to me, because he was Jim Morrison.
Oh, he did a great job in that movie.
He was so good.
No, he did a great job in that movie.
And just so everybody knows, my parents did not let me watch The Doors when I was 11 years old. That was just based on what I had seen on TV.
Yeah. I do think this guy's got a chance to do a better job as...
I think he does.
Freddie Mercury, though.
I think he does. I don't think he embodies the look as well as my big thing on that one. Like, he looks like him, but not as much as Jim Morrison and Val Kilmer looked like each other.
Okay, if we're gonna base it off of looks alone, if you only are looking at the aesthetic,
right,
just the look itself, take a picture,
right,
picture to picture, I definitely got to give Val Kilmer credit on this one,
right.
But if you got to take everything,
if you take everything, but I mean, again, there's no way for us to know that right now. I love Val, so I'm really hoping Val's still a better Jim Morrison than he is a Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens.
Right, we will.
I still want it to be a good movie. This is the first movie that I'm going to go to that's not like an Avengers movie or like a comic book movie,
Marvel movie
that I want to go to.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've hit a movie. I need to do that again soon.
Yeah, it's been a while too. I was in another state last time I went to a movie, I think.
Me too. I was in Alaska.
I was in Missouri. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, that actually covers all of it. We pretty much.
We can't believe we went through the whole thing.
Yeah. At one point, I was just like, in my head, I went, screw it, let's just go.
I just like sitting down and the reason I like doing this show is we sit down and we talk about a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
And we just go off on tangents.
Yeah, we just go on and on and on. And like,
obviously 2.5 hours.
Right. I mean, and anytime you're on the show, which is, I mean, granted, it's only been twice, but whenever
3
you're,
times.
You've been on 3 times?
I think 3 times. I think the last time I was on once early, then the last time, and then this time.
Okay.
This will be the 3rd time, I think. If not, I'll do it again, though. I mean,
you are forever welcome to come on my show.
I know. I love doing a show with you, man. It's always a fun time.
No, that's a great time. Because, yeah, we
don't have Mountain Man in the background, but, you know. You know what? Honestly, that's one of those inside jokes that I like staying inside, but anybody that's listening to it will laugh that knows what I'm talking about.
Right, yeah. Well, I was like, man, no, I don't know if anybody that listens to me is going to understand.
Nobody in San Francisco is going to pick that one up.
Nobody in San Francisco is picking
that audience
up.
is going to fly right over their heads on that one.
But again, yeah, thank you so much for spending the last couple hours with me.
My pleasure, brother. All right, man. We'll do it again soon.
Beautiful. And everybody else, thank you all for listening. Please like, please share. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Muddied Waters of Freedom or facebook.com/The Writer's Block. We're on Instagram at The Muddied Waters of Freedom and on Twitter at Muddied_Waters. And get back out there and continue writing because that is the easiest and most fun way to make a difference.
I am swinging from a 7-story window, throwing parties in a 10-by-7 cell. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help. Yeah, I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'll try to use your body as a life raft, 'cause if there's room enough for one, there must be room enough for 2. I'll sail the good ship you into the sunset, sipping on savory water till my liver turns blue. Sha-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Is broadcast in the evening news. I will be relieved. La, 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 I am waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. I'm waving while I drown. Don't bother swimming out to save me, I will only drag you down. La, 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 singing, hey, hey, alright, yeah, I wrote that one myself. It's astounding the lengths I'll go to convince the whole damn world I don't need anybody's help.